I didn't actually emphasize it in this first publication, but as the story I think goes, Michel Jouvet, who was a really, really outstanding sleep researcher in Lyon, France, had studied with Horace Magoon and worked with Horace Magoon in California, and he was going to study conditioning and the effect of brain lesions and so on. And the story that I have heard is he read my paper in 1958, but then as they began to do more and more recordings, it was like rubbing your face in it. Obviously the cats were asleep and obviously the EEG was activated. And he was studying brain pontine lesions and was able to show that there was a complete loss of muscle tone when the rapid eye movements were present. And I had, by that time, I think, began to study H-reflex, electrically induced reflex in humans, and saw it completely suppressed in REM sleep. At that point, both Jouvet and I were just absolutely convinced of the duality of sleep. Sleep is two independent states. I asked my professor of psychiatry if I could work at Manteno State Hospital, and I began to record medical students who were working out there as controls and schizophrenic patients, and Frederick Gibbs and a neurosurgeon whose name I'm blanking on right now had set up an EEG lab there. They were doing temporal lobectomies in those days, and they allowed me to use these machines at night, which was extraordinary. But one exception is you could not slow the paper speed, so I sampled out there. But that's when I primarily got the first idea that there really was a 90-minute cycle. Ezeritzi has somehow missed that. He sort of knew that eye movements recurred, but not with this honest-to-God period. When I came back to the university, I wanted to record continuously, not sample. Sampling was to save paper and save money. And then I realized that this was an extremely regular phenomenon. But in order to quantify it, I had to deal with these miles of paper by creating some stage definitions. And it wasn't like it was completely original, but I did it in a way that you really could quantify the amount of time that a human being would spend in one or other state of sleep. And I did that night after night after night as a medical student, falling asleep in class during the day, and also at the same time, not at the same time in that night, but on different occasions, awakening subjects to get dream recall and being amazed at the detail and the richness and the variability of the dreams that were reported. Whereas in non-REM sleep, and I have to admit that I was not blinded by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, I was probably the only one on the planet that was doing that kind of work. Nonetheless, the contrast between the dream recall from REM periods and the recall from non-REM periods was dramatically different. But just recording continuously through the entire night and sort of describing sleep second by second through an entire night of sleep, and then trying to add all of these together led to a very, very clear picture of a 90-minute sleep cycle with non-REM sleep, as we then started to call it. So non-REM sleep would appear, then REM sleep, then non-REM sleep. It was just extremely regular. And that pattern on, I think it was, maybe 70 subjects, was so similar that this is now something that we can say is human sleep. That everyone does it, and it's very much the same night after night in young adults.